Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly and the latest in our series, The Greatest Night in Norwegian Football History. Bodø Glimt win at the San Siro and knock out the runaway Serie A leaders and last year's Champions League finalists Inter Milan. And over two legs it was comprehensive. Man City, Atleti and now Inter twice. Genuinely, how far can they go? You've demanded a Lars voice note and he has delivered. We'll do the other Champions League games as Newcastle, Atleti and Leverkusen progress. In the Championship, Snoop Dogg sees his Swansea side rescue a point late on against Preston. We'll try to remember what happened during Manchester United's 1-0 win at Everton on Monday night, discuss the violence in Mexico ahead of the World Cup and the ethics of turning on your sprinklers when it's raining and then postponing a game because of a waterlogged pitch. All that plus your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today, joining us in the studio, Nicky Bandini, welcome.
Morning.
Hello, Sam Dalling.
Hello, Max.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
For the first time ever. Nice person you appear to be in the flesh.
Thank you. Good
How are
impression.
you, Barry?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah, you like this newfangled technology, don't you?
Very Last Supper vibe here.
Okay. Who's going to kill who is the question. Let's start, shall we? Is that what happened in the last subject?
There was a betrayal, Max. An act of treachery.
It's not Guardian Religion Weekly.
If I kiss you on the cheek mid-pod, be afraid.
Okay. I'm voting for yourself, Barry. I think you're the traitor. Let's start then at the San Siro. Inter Milan 1, Bodø Glimt 2. Carl says, is this the greatest result in Norwegian Champions League history since last week or the week before? Simon, imagine how good Bodø will be once they finish pre-season. And Barry says, can we just have Lars? No offence to the others. I just want to hear Lars talk about Bodø for an hour. So insert a picture of Lars's face and a 3-minute voice note.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to record this late on a Tuesday in a state that one might describe as, I believe the phrase is, tired and emotional. It's hard to know where to start with Bodø Glimt right now, but I did say earlier today that this team has already done the impossible more than once. And I guess that means that we need to reevaluate what we think is and isn't possible. Maybe the concept itself, something being impossible, just doesn't really apply here. On the pure footballing side of things, I was so impressed with Bodø Glimt today because the game didn't really go their way. This is a team that's used to having like 60% possession and to control games and pass the ball around and press teams. And here we're Inter, they were all over them in the first half in particular. They were putting crosses in from dangerous areas. But it made me think of a discussion you guys had on the pod a while back about what it means to deserve a result. Bodø Glimt clearly had some luck tonight, but I think they made an awful lot of that luck themselves. Inter kept putting crosses in, but Bodø Glimt kept clearing them away and winning the second balls. The centre halves did incredible work here. And if you look at the goal that really turns the tie, the 1-0 goal, yes, it comes from a goof from Akanji. But notice that Bodø Glimt have 3 players closing him down and closing the passing angles for him. They had to really pick their moments here, as Inter were, had the best of the possession for a lot of the time. But when they were able to put people forward, they were committed and they were brave, and that they put players into good positions. It is just a remarkable achievement. It's incredible for every player on the pitch. It's incredible for every citizen of Bodø, of course, all of which would comfortably fit into the San Siro. In fact, it would look a little empty still if you put all the people of Bodø in the stadium. It would look empty, much like what it looked like towards the end of the game when the Italians had gone home. Anyway, I also have to say, this result is such an extraordinary rebuttal to these sort of lazy, greedy, incompetent morons who believe that we need a closed European league. It's worth bringing up because there are still powerful forces in the sport who believe that the likes of Bodø Glimt should not be allowed in this tournament, that the big team should not have to play teams like this. And it matters that ghouls like this have been made to just look ridiculous. And it's not going to happen every year because it's really hard. But this sort of thing is going to happen occasionally. And to me, that's the whole point of this tournament, that it's still possible for a team from a town of 50,000 people to knock out a rich team that's been in the final for 2 of the last 3 seasons. That's why we care about this stuff. That's why you go to support your team. Because however low down the pyramid you are, it's still theoretically possible. That's what gives everything meaning. So beyond Bodø Glimt as a club, I think this is a result that matters a lot for all of European football. So this is a big claim, but I'm going to stick with it. What a night.
Thank you, Lars. And it was worth getting Lars's opinion. And we've talked about this before, but, Bodo's squad market value on Transfermarkt is 57 million euros. Their weekly wage bill is 140,000 euros. There's no multi-club ownership. There's no tax-evading billionaire. There's no arms dealers, we don't think. There's no nation state. It's sort of joyous, this, Barry. This is good for football, as Lars said.
Yeah, it is great for football. And it's a shame that it's such an unusual thing to happen, I suppose. But what's interesting about this is they're not fluking their way through this tournament. They're playing really well. They're a great team to watch. They've notched up some serious scalps. Manchester City, Atletico Madrid, Inter twice, home and away. They're not just doing this because they are located very far away and play on a plastic pitch. Because they've shown they can do it away from home as well as at home. And you talk about the figures there, the money involved. I think the Inter squad is assembled at a cost of 666 million. They huffed and puffed to no great effect last night, and Bodø Glimt beat them fairly comfortably. And it's been billed as a fairy tale, and I suppose it is, but I wasn't massively surprised Bodø Glimt won that game last night.
Yeah, and I actually thought, Nicky, that something that was really telling was at full time, of course they were happy, but it wasn't like delirium happy. It wasn't like FA Cup shock, I can't believe we've done this. It was like, okay, this is a good win, what's next?
Yeah, I mean, they're getting used to it now, and they should do. I think there was this broad expectation, certainly in Italy, and perhaps from people outside who would have looked at Inter being top of the league and thought, well, they'll turn it over at San Siro. But I didn't feel like they were expected. I didn't expect Inter to win this. I didn't expect them to lose the home leg either. So that is a surprise. And I think the manner they did it is really astonishing. It's astonishing how comfortable they are. And to Barry's point, talking about these scalps and it not just being at home. So they beat Atletico Madrid in a game that forces Atletico to have to play in this round, which, as we've seen, is not a thing big clubs should want to do. So Atletico did want to win that game. That wasn't an end-of-group game they didn't care about. They also drew at Borussia Dortmund. And I actually thought that was one of the discourses that came out of the first leg of this game, which perhaps is inevitable. A team like Inter is going to look for its excuses. There were players talking about, the ball bounced really unexpectedly on that pitch. It wasn't what we thought. But there was no real reason from watching this Bodø team to think they were going to suddenly be not good at San Siro. They've been really good since the fifth game of the group stage at least. And I think what's so astonishing about it is they actually played quite different games between the first and second leg too. If anything, I think that they were less impressive in the first leg because they did give up chances in that leg. This game was a really calculated, we're going to let you have the ball, we're going to let you have that space, but we're going to hold our shape in that low block. It is astonishing how clinical they look going forward. They did against City, they did against Atletico, they did against Inter in both legs. When they go with Hauge, with everyone, they just seem like every time they go forward, they're going to put it in the net, and they do. Yeah, and actually, the second goal, Sam, is a great example of that.
I'm just thinking that, absolute stunner, wasn't it? It's one of the better goals I think you'll see in the Champions League this season. I mean, it might not look spectacular on a highlights reel, but just the technical ability to pull that off, the pass in, and then the touch and the finish. We talked a bit before about the format, and I think of the Champions League, and they are a brilliant feather in the cap of this new format. I know it has its critics, but I think they hadn't won in their first six. Like in the old format, they're now the story of the Champions League. I don't think anyone's going to better it this season, whoever goes on to win it. And actually, they'd be completely done under the old format, and they've pulled it back. And maybe, do we need to put a bit more respect on Spurs last season for winning the Europa League? Because they got past Bodø, right, in the semi-final.
Yeah, and just called you. And
just been on the phone. Yeah.
No, you're right, but that's an interesting point, because I still think, Barry, people will go, we want Bodø. Like, if you get to the last 16 and it'll be a tough game. And I'm sitting there going, actually, you'd still fancy yourself. And you shouldn't.
You're saying that as a Spurs fan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously
but that is deranged. I don't think anyone will want them. They're going to play Man City or Sporting. They've already battered City, battered them.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say they've anything to fear from Sporting either.
No.
So I don't think anyone will want to play Bodø in the next round.
So interesting. I don't know, the first goal, Nicky, I don't know what Akanji's doing. And also, I don't know who is he complaining to after. That's the best thing.
I replayed this again and again just to see who was Akanji trying to blame for his mistake and why. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, he was trying to run the ball out of defence, and then he thought better of it and turned to either side foot a pass to his fellow centre-back or pass back to the keeper. I'm not sure which. But anyway, he had his pocket picked by Blomberg. Blomberg shoots, Sommer saves, and Jens Hauge side foots home the rebound. And Akanji throws his hands up in the air, looks down the pitch and starts gesticulating furiously at someone. So I think he was having a go at Fratesi for not making himself ready for the pass out of defence. And Fratesi had been running up to his upfield. He had his back to Akanji. So I think he was on thin ice blaming anyone else for that. But he did have a point in that Fratesi wasn't open to receive the ball.
Obviously, he has a bandage on, so you have to think of Terry Butcher, and you think Terry Butcher wouldn't have done that, would he? There's no way he's not just getting that launched. I mean, we have to talk about Inter, I guess, and in the context of, given where the Italian sides are tonight as well, possibly no Italian sides in the last 16.
Yeah.
Is that just a one-off? Or is
there are going to be no Italian sides in the last 16. I feel fairly confident of it. If anyone will do it, I mean, Atalanta are capable of beating Dortmund at home, but by 2 goals. I'm sceptical. Can Juventus score 3 goals against Galatasaray? Definitely. Will they keep a clean sheet? Absolutely not.
Okay.
So I don't see either of them. I don't see either of them doing it. And I think it is, of course, it's. I mean, nationally, it's very, very bad that clubs are performing at that level, and it is, I think, would be the first time in the modern Champions League that there's ever been no Italian teams in the last 16. So it's a really bad season for Italian football. I think there's always like levels to go to on these narratives, and each of these clubs has its own story going on, and that's what's actually happening.
Yeah.
The big picture thing, I sometimes feel like I'm trapped in Groundhog Day with, because I feel like there is this want to compare Italy to the late 90s, which haven't been around for a really long time.
Yeah. But we still think that.
I know, but the boring reality is that the Deloitte Money League says that the richest Italian team is Inter. Now, listen, this is why there's levels to talk about it. Inter going out at this stage to a team that, as Baz was saying, is financially tiny compared to them. That's hard to excuse. But the bigger picture of Inter are, I think, 10th on that list. The only other teams in the top 16 on that list of the Deloitte Money League is Juventus and Milan. And Juventus in 16th, I think, are literally 1/3 the revenue of Real Madrid. That is why Italian clubs aren't going far in the Champions League, because they aren't as rich. Having said that, one of them was in the final last year and 2 years before that. So I think there's always like points to come into the conversation. But I think that this year is going to be a definite really, really poor show from the clubs in Europe, obviously starting with Napoli, who didn't even get out of the group, which is inexcusable but very predictable because Antonio Conte always does it. And it does, I think, look especially bad for all these clubs on Inter when you are 10 points clear in Serie A, when you are 15 games with 14 wins in the league, and you can't even put up a good show in the second. Like, I think going out is one thing, because again, Bodø were really good, but to lose both legs, and this leg, I mean, the goal they get, I think the fact that it barely crosses the line almost makes it feel worse. Like it's like, was it even? So
they had a few chances, didn't they? Like they had the Bodø keeper makes a few good saves in the first half, but none of them are like saves he shouldn't make, I think.
Yeah, and listen, this is again where you get into levels of the conversation. The fact is, this team is, despite how well it's going in Serie A, it looks to me like a team that is still working out where it is post Simone Inzaghi. Simone Inzaghi was one of those coaches who has a very clear tactical idea, and who, frankly, he was the one who moved the needle for them as a club. I mean, you go all the way back to them getting a result at Anfield when they were still going out of the competition. That was like this shift in the momentum of the team, and he created this free-flowing, fluid football that really has defined a little mini era of Inter, and is kind of over now. And I think if you want to get into the detail of this specific game, one of the things that happened under Simone Inzaghi which is still being worked out, is Inzaghi's Inter never dribbled. Last year they had the most possession in all of Serie A, and they took on and beat a man the least times of anyone in Serie A. They did it all by out-positioning you, by moving you around and getting position on you. And they don't do that quite as well now he's gone. And they still don't have players in the team who can freelance, who can beat their man. And when you get a team like Bodø who's going to sit there and go, okay, beat us, sometimes you don't have the tools to do it. And that's why they were, for instance, a player who's now at one of the other clubs we're talking about tonight, they were so keen to get Manuel Akanji in the summer because he is someone who could do that for you, who could break down a packed defence a bit more. Now, I think a lot of people are asking, okay, but you had 40 million euros to give for Manuel Akanji. Why didn't you find someone else when you couldn't do that? I think there are lots of criticisms to make, but I do think the Inter story specifically, taking apart from the Italian story, which has got lots to say about it, it is about being at a specific moment in time between chapters. And I don't know yet if Christian Kivu is the man to take them forward. And I think Inter don't really either.
But he was very nice afterwards, chatting to Knutsen for
Yeah.
ages. I just don't see that very often.
And I also
Two
think-
managers having a nice little chat about life. And
I also think he didn't try to deflect it, which is admirable. I mean, in the pre-game, there was this interesting exchange with a Norwegian journalist who made this slightly scoffing remark of, shouldn't you be beating a little team like Bodø? And he was like, well, you're the one laughing at them. We're not laughing at them. They're a good team. And then after the game, when he was given the opportunity to say that Inter should be beating teams like Bodø, he said, well, this is all theory. In practice, they've been a better team than us twice in a row. So I think he's owned the responsibility of it, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're the man to fix it.
Yeah.
And that's the question for Inter.
I suppose for Italian football, they could get knocked out by Northern Ireland, right? So this could get worse before it gets better. But
just final thought on that as well,
Okay.
by the way. If Inter win the league this season, last season they tried to win everything and they won nothing.
Yeah.
If Inter win the league this season, they're going to call it a good season. So actually, even though this is a low moment
sure.
in their season, it's not going to be defining.
Sure. And I think if you win the league, it probably is a good season. How far will Bodø go, Sam?
Oh, I don't know. But I agree with the analysis earlier that we need to turn it around. It's not who do Bodø want to get, it's who wants to avoid getting Bodø, because going away there is just such a leveller. It's not what any team are used to. I mean, they've already beaten Manchester City, Sporting. I mean, they fancy themselves against Sporting, right? And as Barry said, they are a good football team. It's not just like a lovely story and they score the odd scrappy goal and get lucky. They're a good team, so we've got to take them seriously.
Welcome to part 2 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So in the other Champions League games, Newcastle 3, Qarabag 2. I mean, it was done, Barry, before last night. When Newcastle were 2 up after 6 minutes, was there part of you hoping, obviously, I know you're a Sunderland fan, but you were hoping to see 10?
No.
Okay. Sam, you are a Newcastle fan. Were you?
Yeah, of course. I'm always hoping to see 10, right?
Yeah.
That's the only reason I turn up at games. Look, hats off to the 100 or so Qarabag fans that were up in that top corner, because
They should have put them nearer the goal.
Oh.
Just for once, Newcastle. Put the away fans closer.
could have
They were
squeezed
still
them
in Qarabag, weren't they?
Wow, no, almost. I mean, so Newcastle were 2-0 down in the semi-final first leg of the Carabao Cup, and I went to my wife, and we live an hour from Manchester, and I said to her, you know what, I've got a young baby, I'm away a lot, I'll just skip this one. And she said, you absolutely won't skip it, the second leg I'm talking about, because she said, if you sit on that sofa and Newcastle get an early goal, you'll be absolutely unbearable to be around. And I just wonder if a similar conversation happened over in Azerbaijan, where someone went home and said, it's all right, look, we're 6-1 down, so the flights are refundable, I'm just going to leave that one. And someone's partner went, yeah, but you just never know, if you get the first 4, you're back in it. So fair play to them. Like, Newcastle did the job they needed to do. The game was over, really. The tie was over in the first leg. 2-0 after, 5-6 minutes. You're thinking, like, almost in that moment, it's getting a bit embarrassing. And it's like, I wish there was the rule we used to have in the sort of early 2000s when you were playing FIFA. Like, if you were 3-0 down after 60 minutes on a computer game, that was it. Tie over.
Throw the
you had to go,
controller.
throw the controller, that's it. You had to come off. But they came back into it. I mean, Newcastle, positives, right? Into the Champions League knockout stages. They got a few players back from injury.
That's the first time ever, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's lots of like formatted things. And
Okay.
it is the first time ever. There was that weird period where there were 2 group stages, so they got into the second group stage.
Is this the Espria years?
Later than that,
Okay.
it's the Robson. Craig Bellamy scored a wonderful goal away at final. Anyway, we're going down a different path. But yeah, they're into the Champions League last 16, so that's brilliant. They've got some players back. Joe Linton came back, Botman came back, both scored. Johan Visser, who's been missing for most of the season, partly due to injury and then partly because he's not getting in the side behind an attacking midfielder. Alex Murphy, young lad, finally got his full debut. It's only positive, right? I mean, I found it a bit odd how a few players were still on towards the back end. I know they're playing at walking pace.
That is very
it's a weird
disrespectful to
pace.
Qarabag,
Yeah, it is.
isn't
It is walking pace. Like, I found it a little bit odd that Sandro Tonali was still on for 90 minutes, given particularly with Bruno Guimaraes' injury. Like, he is central to Newcastle's team, to their midfield. And actually, having had this horror run of away games, they've now got a run of home games that aren't much easier. So I thought that was a little bit odd, but I don't think Eddie Howe gives players minutes just for the sake of giving players minutes. He's done that for the last 3 or 4 years, even when he's been down to his bare bones. But yeah, and fair play to the Qarabag fans. Weird one for Newcastle fans to go to, turning up. It was full there. A few were leaving early. Can't really blame them for that. I know some people think that it was sacrilege, but job done.
Yeah.
One presumes the Newcastle sold all the tickets before the first leg, did they?
Yes, they were all
Because I did see
sold
the
out.
tickets were really expensive. 65,
70 quid, yeah. They stuck an extra £5 on it because it's Champions League knockout rounds. In fairness to them, like, they had predetermined that those sort of prices come out before the start of the season. You get through the Champions League group stages, we're knocking it up. But yeah, I couldn't make last night because I was coming here, couldn't physically make it work, and I completely forgot to put my ticket back on the resale. And I only remembered about half an hour into the first leg when we were already 4-0 up, and I thought, I've got no chance of reselling it. But actually, it went within about a minute. So, yeah.
Well done.
People this morning talking about Newcastle reaching the knockout stage proper. Why is this not the knockout stage? Teams are being knocked out. I know it's a playoff round. It's still the knockout stage.
No, you make a very good point.
Bothering me.
Chelsea or Barcelona in the last 16?
In his analysis last night, Wayne Rooney was quite scathing about Nick Voltemade and his positioning on the field, saying that he was playing deeper than Tonali and Joe Linton. He was playing in front of the centre-backs. Whenever Newcastle got the ball wide, he made no effort whatsoever to get in the box. He does seem to have a dose of hurricane-itis insofar as he's never where you think he should be. And I don't know if that's because he's doing what he's told or he's just, this is what he decides to do. But is it something you've noticed, and would you concur with Waza that perhaps he should be positioning himself in the box?
I mean, Shearer was saying this on commentary too, and far be it from me to go cut across Waza and Alan Shearer, but I did think,
Go on then.
When Shearer was saying it, I am thinking, like, he needs to get forward a little bit, and he needs to, this is his chance to get a couple of goals. Yeah, but he's playing basically on the left-hand side of a three-man midfield, so he is actually playing tactically where he has been instructed to play. It's one of the things, we'd have gone back a couple of weeks ago, Newcastle lost at home to Brentford. There was this big, crisis was overblown, and there were these two narratives, this sort of Eddie Howe in, Eddie Howe out, and as ever, there was no room for nuance, and we've gone down this road before, but they've changed things, and one of the changes is that when Voltemade first came in, he was scoring quite freely. Those goals have dried up, and actually in recent weeks, it's been quite telling at times how has preferred to play Anthony Gordon through the middle when Voltemade, Visser and Willa Sula have all been on the bench. And one of the things since Bruno Guimaraes got injured is that Voltemade has dropped back a little bit. There have been plenty of people who say that he's probably best as a number 10, and that's what Newcastle had been doing. But actually looking at the analysis and where their average positions are, he is playing on the left-hand side of a midfield three. So I think as much as we think, oh yes, centre forward, he must be in the box. I think he's doing what he's told to do, and alongside him, he had another former forward who'd been converted into a midfield. So they just need to get Visser in there somewhere, and they've got a three-man midfield of former forwards.
More proof there that you don't need to listen to podcasts with Wayne Rooney or Alan Shearer, I guess. I say he is tall. He'd just get deeper and deeper. What a fun centre-back he'd be.
He'll end up in goal.
Athletic 4, Club Brugge 1. Doesn't tell the whole story of that, Baz, really, does it?
No, it doesn't. Club Brugge were very much in this until Atleti I suppose it was just before half time is probably the turning point, actually. So it was 1-1 on the night, 4-4 on aggregate. And Hugo Vettesen, Club Brugge's Hugo Vettesen, should have scored with a diving header, but he was denied by an absolutely brilliant reflex save by Jan Oblak. And I think that save was the game changer, really, after the break. Atletico Madrid ran away with it and ended up winning 4-1, but they didn't have it all their own way, as the scoreline suggests. The 4-1 on the night to make it 7-4 in aggregate. They will now face
Liverpool or Spurs?
Liverpool or Spurs. I wonder who they'd prefer. Maybe they'd prefer Bodø Glimt. I mean...
Oh, no.
Jan Oblak feels a bit like my canary in the mine. Like, I forget all about him. Like, it feels like for all of my adult life, in about February, March, April, suddenly Jan Oblak reappears in my life, and I feel like everything in the world is okay.
And actually, see also Simon Mignolet.
Oh yeah, of course. And he made a mistake.
And he did make a mistake.
he let in a very soft one.
The first one from Sørloth, didn't he? You'll like this, Nicky. Sørloth became the first Atleti player ever to score a hat-trick in a Champions League knockout match. So they are now knockout matches. So that's
okay, good.
Isn't it? And Lookman did well for Sørloth second, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So did Griezmann. That was really nice. Play all the way through. Griezmann coming off the bench and getting a big reception, might be off to Orlando. But yeah, Lookman has integrated there really, really quickly. And I'm not surprised because he's a brilliant footballer, and it's kind of a shame that he's had this little, feels like a lost chapter after getting himself into the Ballon d'Or voting and getting some of that recognition. Suddenly he had that fallout with Atlanta because they didn't honour what he felt was an agreement to let him leave, and it's taken a while, but I think he's certainly landed somewhere good. It is interesting. Baz is dead right. In the first half of this game, Atletico really weren't in control of it, and I think to an extent that's a mirror, an image of Atletico this season. They are a team that is capable of being really brilliant, beating anyone 4-0, but they're also a bit lacking in controlling games. I think that's probably why they're not necessarily going to go all the way in this competition. But worst thing as well, Sørloth, of course, another little Norwegian victory on the night.
Nobody on this panel watched a minute of Leverkusen Olympiacos. Our apologies to the Leverkusen and Olympiacos fans, but they're through. It was a goalless draw, and they'll play Arsenal or Bayern Munich in the last 16. So you don't imagine, Barry, Arsenal or Bayern Munich can be that worried if they get them?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is the answer,
right.
Because I can't remember a single thing Bayer Leverkusen have done in this tournament.
Yeah.
Which would suggest they probably won't be very worried. Bayer Leverkusen may be really good. I don't know.
Yeah. If they've done the same amount of research as you, they can't be that worried because they wouldn't know. Tonight's games: Atalanta, Borussia Dortmund, Juve, Galatasaray, PSG, Monaco, which is 3-2 to PSG at the time, and Real Madrid have that 1-goal lead against Benfica. Gianluca Prestiani is provisionally suspended by UEFA for one game after the Vinicius incident, which is probably they've probably done the right thing there, even though the case hasn't been seen through.
He has travelled.
Has he?
Yes,
trained.
He has travelled. I think they're appealing the decision to suspend him. I've no problem with him being suspended. It's probably for the best. I'd quite like if he was playing to see what kind of reception he'd get and how he'd deal with it, because I don't think it'd be a very pleasant one. But he has been suspended despite not being found guilty of anything, and that seems weird.
Yeah, and Jose Mourinho hasn't done any press for this game.
No, I don't think so. I think because he's got a touchline ban.
Right.
I think because presumably he has to do some press usually, but because he's got a touchline ban, I think that's a little loophole that he's used to get out of it.
It's so unlike him so out of character for Jose to send one of his minions out into a hail of bullets rather than take them himself.
Yeah. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. And if you thought you got away with me ranting about handball, just in the break, Barry brought up the Dan Burn handball penalty in the Qarabag game. Your thoughts?
Oh, it was ludicrous. And I think there was a ludicrous penalty in the first leg as well, possibly also involving Dan Burn. I can't remember, but this one was... I mean, I know you get very het up about penalties given for handball. But I think he slid in and fell to the ground, and his ground side arm, which kind of broke his fall, the ball was hit against it, and that was deemed a handball, and it was sufficient to award Qarabag a penalty. Ultimately, the penalty did not matter.
No.
But that's beside the point. There is literally nowhere else Dan Burn could have put his arm.
But also, we're now at a stage where Newcastle didn't complain.
Yeah.
Right? And Qarabag didn't even appeal because they sort of knew they were going to get it. And the ref just gave it straight away. And everyone's like, yeah, I guess that is in the Champions League. It's obviously a penalty. That's how far we've got. And IFAB are having a meeting at the moment, like in the next day, to talk about laws of the game. They're not even talking about handball. Like no one is going there with a big, I want to go there with a big sort of placard saying, the fuck are you doing? You're ruining football. Like you're ruining it. And they don't even realise. Honestly, and it's so ridiculous that it's different they go, well, in the Champions League, because that's a different form of football. No,
people's hands are different. They move their arms in different ways.
Well, what does he have to do? Just fall? I mean, him falling down like a tree, like a redwood, would be quite fun to watch.
But his arm was literally by his side between his body and the ground.
I don't know. I feel like I'm losing people as well, because people eventually, you can play. You can't. You just accept it. This is how people get away with bad things.
I mean, the direction IFAB is going is towards more use of VAR. If anything, we're going to get VAR for corners from the World Cup onwards. So, yeah.
But I don't mind that if it's an obvious corner. But one of the VAR things is if it's an obvious corner that they give a goal kick, they'll change that decision. But if it's an obvious goal kick,
define clear and obvious.
Well,
next.
of course. But if it's an obvious goal kick that should be a corner, not the other way round. They're not going to change that. It makes no sense at all. Somebody change the laws of the game, please. Somebody break into IFAB. Let's do the Premier League game from Monday night. Everton 0, Manchester United 1. Another really good goal from Sesko, Sam. And I'd never really noticed how fast he is, unless James Tarkowski's just incredibly slow.
I think there might be a bit of that.
There is a little bit of running and treacle, but he is quick. And the pass from Mateus Cunha is the one that sets it up, the break. And actually, after all we've laughed at Manchester United, and I certainly have in the last 6-8 months, it's looking like a really, really great summer window. With all the mess that was going on last summer, the recruitment, Sesko is starting to find the goal. Cunha sets it up, and Buemo's involved, and Senny Lemons. So actually, really good summer business. Sesko's taken a little bit of time. I know that there was almost a bit of worry at Manchester United that he worked too hard. He came in and was this perfectionist and really harsh on himself, and maybe actually needed to step back and give himself a little bit of a break. And he started those couple of games under Fletcher, scored 3 goals, and now what's he got? A winner at Fulham, equaliser at West Ham, winner at Everton, all off the bench, and Carrick is slowly starting to trust him, build him up, a few more minutes here and there. So yeah, exciting front three for Manchester United, and lovely first time finish, and also in front of the away fans, perfectly set up, wasn't it? So he could just wheel straight towards those away fans in the corner.
Yeah, and what Carrick's doing, Nicky, is, man, it just can't be this obvious. Put the players where they're meant to play, and if he keeps doing this, they can't not give him the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you look at previous examples of them doing that and turning to former player and going, it's started quite well, but this does feel like something different, doesn't it? This feels like it's actually coming together. I do think some of it is timing. When you talk about Sesko, it feels like the lesson football never learns, ever, is that some footballers can't hit the ground running. Like, some footballers will take a few months to get used to playing in a new country, in a new league, in a new team. And this expectation that everyone should be able to just show up and perform at the same level is unrealistic. So some of it is timing, but like you say, it feels so natural already. It's astonishing that it was that hard before.
Yeah. And just because it didn't work with Solskjaer, it doesn't mean he's a different person and a different time with different players. Mm-hmm. And whoever they brought in would just be so up against it, if Carrick does carry on this run.
I don't think you can read too much into this result. This was a terrible, terrible game.
It wasn't great.
And it was won by the sole moment of quality.
Yeah. Did you like, Barry, just the end of the last 20 minutes of the game, as far as I can tell, was Everton having a corner and all the players surrounding Sonny Lemons, and James Tarkowski and Harry Maguire just sort of falling on the floor and then laughing about it.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. And it's kind of funny, but I suppose we have Arsenal to thank for this now, don't we? Have to drag them in just because their fans will love them getting blamed for Everton's tactics against Manchester United. But David Moyes more or less admitted after the game that was our tactic: try not to concede, score from a set piece. We didn't think Lamens would be good under a high ball, and they just got, I think they had 10 corners, tried to bully United, bully Lamens, force the ball over the line with these battering rams lumbering up from the back, and it didn't work. But it's grim to watch. And
but how do you fix it? Someone was it?
I think it is. I don't know how to fix it. It's not my job to fix it. But what I can say is, Senator Lamens said, like, a goalkeeper should not have to come from behind his goal line to be able to try, just to have a 50-50 chance of catching a ball or punching it clear when it comes in for a corner.
Yeah.
But they're not being protected.
I mean, there is this issue, Sam, that you can't give away a free kick if the ball hasn't been struck. We had this with Ruben Diaz pushing Dan Burn offside, right? And you sort of think, well, you can get sent off if you punch someone in the face after the full-time whistle. So why can't you give away a penalty or a free kick before the corner's taken? That could perhaps change this.
And what was strange was a lot of the time you watch these things, similar situations on TV, and you see that happening beforehand, and you go, right, well, I just know as soon as this corner goes in, the ref's going to blow his whistle and give a free kick
to the defence.
And you're just waiting for it to happen. And it didn't happen this time. And maybe it was because they were enjoying it so much. Like, I don't know, I took a bit of pleasure in it. I thought in amongst a terrible game, it was actually quite fun to watch. Not traditional football. James Tarkowski clearly loves it. I'm not sure with the Arsenal comparison. I reckon Arsenal's set piece coordinator coach will be a bit offended because I don't think there was quite as much thought going into that Everton approach. I don't think it was quite as meticulous.
The set piece coach at Everton is lazy. All of you. Here it is. See the goal mouth? Yeah, everyone go there. But there's that bit in Sunday League where you have it was Yoro and Tarkowski, I think, quite all the time, where you sort of like, you get close to someone and then you just, all your whole body weight goes into the person. It's really annoying. It's like, this is so annoying. All these people just like flapping into each other. But I think it might be Kalina, and if it isn't, then I'm sorry because I'm angry with you for the handball. So maybe it isn't you. But someone was suggesting like an exclusion zone around the keeper, but that seems quite hard to enforce, doesn't it? I don't know how you do that.
I feel like you're going to have a really long sign to click to IFAB. It's getting like there's more lines being added to it. I don't know. I think there's always going to be grey areas in football. If you put an exclusion zone around the goalkeeper, who's measuring it? Yeah. Are we going to have like a drone?
Does he wear like a
drone above
cone of shame, like a dog? Like if he has that and you can't, or like I haven't thought it through. Evidently, I haven't.
I know it's difficult with him, but he did so well, the goalkeeper. We should give him kudos because the way he's come in, like to come into such a high-profile football club anyway and take a position that, I mean, they had Edwin van der Sar, didn't they, on Monday Night Football. Barthez has been there, Schmeichel has been there. It's a big position, the Manchester United goalkeeping position. Then you add in the mess the club has been in generally, and then you add in his predecessor and all the noise around Onana and how they've been struggling with a goalkeeper, and this young lad has come in having played I think one full season in top flight football. He was at Bruges, couldn't get in behind Mignolet, so he was moved to Antwerp where he was hoping to be number one, didn't quite happen for him, and then he played all of last season. And Tony Cotton, this goalkeeping scout for Manchester United, has recommended this kid that no one's really heard of. They paid less than 20 million quid for him, and he's come in and looks really unflappable. Like, it wasn't like he was moaning and at the ref, he was finding solutions to it. And you're right, he shouldn't have to start behind the goal line, but it felt like I was back in sort of the 90s. He was catching footballs. I've not seen a goalkeeper do that for ages. I felt like
Jennings.
I should be able to go out and go to Blockbuster and hire a DVD or something like that. But also he was punching effectively. So often punching is just the default, and actually he was using his judgment and punching and actually getting clearance on the ball. So I thought he had a really good game.
I didn't know that Tony Coton was the goalkeeping scout for Manchester United. Thanks for enlightening me. Let's talk about Snoop Dogg, Barry. Of course, I always knew I'd say that sentence. He was at Swansea. He was at the Winter Olympics, wasn't he? But he was at Swansea, gave everybody a towel, and then walked out on the pitch before the game with Preston. Seemed to have a nice time.
Yeah, he's a part owner of Swansea, along with Martha Stewart and somebody else you would not expect to be.
Luka Modric.
Big man, little man, Snoop.
Big man, little man,
it's the
and
combination
Martha.
of them together.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, Martha Stewart, Luka Modric. That's not a trio you expected.
So he rocked up at the Liberty Stadium yesterday for Swansea's game against Preston. I think the crowd had been told he was coming. There was a welcoming party outside the stadium when he got out of his minibus / people carrier, and only appeared to have a one-man entourage, which I was disappointed.
You expected more from Snoop?
I expect more from Snoop.
Oh, he's a man of the P. He's a humble guy. Just wanted to bring a mate.
So yeah, posed for selfies, signed autographs, while a gang of kids serenaded him with Snoop Dogg's Barmy Army. Or no, it wasn't Barmy Army.
Jack Army.
Jack Army,
yeah.
Yes. And then pre-match...
If Snoop next goes to join the Barmy Army, I think,
Well, it might make them less objectionable. There's some people who could do with a dose of humility, but yeah, that's not for a football podcast, is it? Awful.
I think they're okay, aren't they?
Oh, they're great.
Okay, fine. They do quite a lot of good work.
Like what?
I don't know. I think they support.
They play trumpets.
They
Is
play
that
trumpets.
good? Is that good?
I don't hate a trumpet at the cricket, at the football maybe.
Okay.
I don't know why it's different.
Yeah.
I think they do support the England cricket team quite well, I would say.
Okay.
But I don't spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're right.
Yeah.
In defence of the Barmy Army, I didn't think I'd be there, but I'm trying to talk about Snoop Dogg, which is what this podcast is about.
Yeah, and then he did a pre-match sort of lap of appreciation, and all the fans waved the towels he'd left for them on the seat, and then sat down and watched the game, and saw his team come from behind.
They were quite lucky, weren't they?
Yeah, it was a very, very late equaliser. Paul Heckingbottom made some joke about well, maybe it wasn't a joke, the tunnel stinking of weed.
Yes, we don't know if it's actually quite an offensive thing to say or true, do we?
Well, I wouldn't say it's offensive.
Okay, fine. Yeah, it's interesting being back in London because that does smell. There's more weed in London than Melbourne, right. I would say, wafting about. That's why I'm so giddy today. Someone get me some Doritos. Anyway, what else happened in the Championship? Borough drew 1-1 with Leicester, so that means they are 2 points off Coventry. Coventry play Sheffield United tonight. Good result for Leicester, because they are a point from safety. They've had that points deduction. They're a point behind West Brom, who drew with Charlton. West Brom have sacked Eric Ramsey after just 44 days. Got lots of Marinakis vibes to West Brom, isn't it? It's their second sacking. He was appointed on a 2.5-year deal on the 11th of January, following the departure of Ryan Mason. Failed to win any of his nine matches. The Eric Ramsey bounce does not exist. Ipswich are third, 6 points behind Borough with a game in hand. They won at Watford. Wrexham, Hull, Southampton, Bristol City all won as well in those fights for the playoffs. And yeah, it's... Leicester and West Brom. Leicester are third from bottom, West Brom fourth from bottom. Oxford probably done. Now have 29 points. They are 6 points from safety. Lots of people have got in touch about Mexico and what's happening in Mexico, and I wouldn't expect us all to be experts on the cartels. But they are one of the World Cup hosts, and a lot of people have seen, vehicles on fire. And around where some of the World Cup games are being played. It began when El Mencho, this drug cartel leader, was killed during a federal operation to capture him. There was retaliation by cartel members who blocked almost 100 major roads, attacked National Guard bases across the country. At least 25 soldiers, 34 cartel gunmen died in the fighting. There was a bus on fire which was on the road a mile away from the Estadio Akron, which is in Guadalajara, which is set to host 4 group matches. The city activated a red alert protocol on Sunday, freezing activity for ordinary citizens, encouraging them to stay at home. The violence had mostly subsided by Monday. The president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, has said there's no risk for visitors coming to Mexico for the World Cup. And we're very vocal, Barry, about politics in the US, so we can't just not talk about politics in the other hosts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to draw my extensive knowledge of Mexican drug cartels, but is what's going on in Guadalajara that much different to what's going on in certain parts of the United States? Loads of people acting lawlessly, with thugs running around with guns and setting things on fire. It doesn't seem that different. Just these are members of the cartel fighting against the army and the law enforcement, whereas in the States, it's the thuggery of ice. I guess things will have calmed down by the summer, if they haven't calmed down already.
I was reading somewhere that, the cartel money is not just in drugs, it's in nice official businesses which will benefit from people coming to the World Cup. So it's not in the cartel's interest.
No, of course not.
For the World Cup not to happen or not to go smoothly. But I suppose that is a bit like how we approach, how football approaches major tournaments, Nicky, which is, well, as long as it's fine for the World Cup, and then, we can have all the football, and then we can all go back again, and, they can get on with fighting again.
I don't know if it was just because I hadn't seen the World Cup machine close up before, but I really became aware of in 2010 was the power of FIFA to almost impose a temporary state of being on the places it goes to. So when they went to South Africa in 2010, there was the government specifically set up, I think, more than 50 almost short-term expedited courts to deal with petty crimes, so that you would have any instance of petty crime that effectively could disrupt this beautiful World Cup everyone's having, would make sure that was dealt with more efficiently than it would be normally. So at that time I was thinking, gosh, FIFA is this juggernaut that can just come into a country and effectively make the rules. And you look at this World Cup and it feels perhaps for the first time that I've been, again, working in football journalism and covering these, like FIFA doesn't have that level of grip on the situation. They're going to be going to these countries and they're going to be at the whims of what's happening in Mexican politics, what's happening in American politics. And I think from a spectator point of view, I absolutely understand why people might look at that and think, gosh, this is a bit less safe than I want it to be.
And actually, a lot of people have thought, I'm not going to go to the States for sort of ethical reasons. I'm going to go to Mexico, for example.
Yeah. I think Mexico are supposed to be playing Iceland in a friendly today, and that hasn't been cancelled. Yeah. So I don't know if it's in Guadalajara. And isn't Guadalajara is also hosting at least one, if not two, World Cup playoff games in March. The noises are that FIFA are just going to follow guidance from the Mexican security forces. But as you say, it is not in the interests of the cartels to make it an unwelcoming place.
No. Slightly different subject. Jamie says, annoyed the mighty yet often terrible Hatters are a game away from Wembley, Max. Potentially a Hatters v Hatters final should Stockport beat Doncaster. And yet it's that time of the season where lower league teams start to care about the LDV Vans Johnson's Paint. Is it called the Virtu Trophy these days? When teams get into the semi-final. But well done to Dirty Luton, who beat Plymouth and are in the semis. Tony says, do the Kings Lynn Town watering their pitch in a downpour story so they force a postponement? Top shit housery. Yes, this is the story that Kings Lynn Town are being investigated over claims its sprinkler system was put on hours before a game was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. They were due to play South Shields in a 3 o'clock kickoff on the 14th of February, but announced the postponement the day before the match. An anonymous source has released CCTV footage of a sprinkler in operation at the ground 10:38 a.m. on the Friday when it was also raining. Ian Culverhouse's Kings Lynn are just 4 points above the relegation zone in National League North and had injury problems ahead of the game. The club said due to a high amount of rainfall and insufficient drainage, our pitch has too much sitting water and has become waterlogged. We don't know we don't want to get in trouble with Kings Lynn. Maybe this didn't happen. How do we feel about if it was the case, Sam, this sort of behaviour? I mean, it's completely unacceptable.
That's the only thing I can really say about it. I mean, if you're a football club who are deliberately trying to avoid playing fixtures, then yeah, I'm not on board with that at all. I mean, maybe it was just someone forgot to change the automated sprinkler system. Someone was on holiday and it's pre-programmed to come on a Friday morning. Maybe that was it. I wonder what beef the person that released that anonymous footage has there with Kings Lynn Town. I reckon this story has got a long way to run. It will lead more podcasts than Bodø Glimt, I reckon.
Do you think they're sort of scrolling through, like we finally got it? Who's watching CCTV of Kings Lynn Town's pitch when a game isn't happening? That's the real question, isn't it? Is that the person with the most time on their hands?
I reckon it would still be better than Everton Manchester United.
It's possible.
We did contact the club for comment about the investigation. Hadn't received any comment from them when we published this pod.
Barry, some half marathon news.
Yes.
Yeah, this is exciting.
Well, it's exciting and it's slightly disappointing.
Okay. Is it the listeners who we are disappointed
Oh
in?
God, no,
Right.
not at all.
Right.
No, very happy with the listeners, but I need the listeners' help, Max.
Okay.
I have discovered
Yeah.
that not only is the world of running competitive, but the world of fundraising, Max,
very competitive.
is super competitive. I was not ready for this.
Okay.
So I got wind of the fact that the top 5 fundraisers for the London Landmarks Half Marathon get the bibs numbers 1 to 5
Oh, okay.
on race day.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
so if
Yeah.
you're the top fundraiser, you get bib number 1.
Yeah.
Now I think that would be a very heavy bib to wear.
Oh, absolutely.
I must say.
Yeah, and there would be a danger that people might, on the day, think you were the top 5 favourites to
Yes,
win
yes.
the race.
But anyway, as things stand,
Uh-huh.
I'm currently in line to get bib number 3.
Okay, that's admirable.
Yeah. And I've done some investigating, and the 2 people above me, bibs 1 and 2, they're basically propped up by massive singular one-off donations of $50,000. One guy basically donated $50,000 to himself, and the other guy got $50,000, which is 30-something thousand pounds, from a group or a business, Whereas my donations, I've got hundreds and hundreds of donations of all sizes from loads of generous friends, family, and Football Weekly family.
You're like Zoran Mamdani, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'm asking people to try and fundraising is bent, Max,
Yeah.
and I want people to bend it in my
Right,
favour.
I see. Oh, you want to be pure, like Bodø, right?
Yeah.
You need. So, how much more money do we need? We've already got
I think we
30
need
odd
about
grand.
20 grand.
Has anyone got a spare 20 grand?
Oh.
Although Nicky made a good point before the pod that you could just do the same and
Yeah.
donate 20 grand.
I'll be honest, I already resent the fact that the 30-something grand I've raised is going to charity. I'm certainly not donating any more of my own money.
Anyway, if you haven't donated to Barry yet, now's your
Barry
chance.
Glendenning, Just Giving, had a bit of a training wobble. I was injured, and then I was ill, and then I was just lazy.
Right.
But I'm back at it now.
Okay, good stuff. What
so-
day is the race?
It's the 12th of April.
Okay, and it's Hyde Park, is it?
No, it's London Landmarks.
Oh, right.
The clue is in the title. Max.
I haven't been paying attention to what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, so you're running around.
Big Ben
and all that.
Trafalgar Square.
Fine. Okay, and a
Houses of
few vape
Parliament.
shops.
Few
A
vape
few
shops,
vape
yeah.
shops and someone stealing a mobile phone.
Yeah.
They're all the landmarks of London. Okay.
With a constant smell of weed.
Yeah, absolutely.
nostrils.
Okay, good stuff. So yeah, go on. He just needs a
I mean, if everyone listening
yeah.
just a quid,
Yeah.
we'd do it. No, we'd
We'd
do
raise
it. Bib number 1.
£5.5 million.
But heavy is the chest that wears bib number 1.
Get Baz at number 1.